head live now to Old Trafford and speak to our senior reporter, Melissa Reddy, who's there waiting to talk to us. Good to see you, Melissa, as always. You spoke, didn't you, to Erik ten Hag on Friday, as, of course, the deadline day mayhem was continuing around us all. How was he feeling ahead of the game, do you feel?
Yeah, with all the targeted priority positions boxed in the transfer window, Erik ten Hag wants to walk out of the dugout here at Old Trafford and feel the Manchester United fans bring the fire, as he put it. Now, when I spoke to him on Friday, he was very keen to circle two major points. The first is that even though Liverpool have a new head coach in Arne Slot and a new backroom team, they are in a different life cycle to his Manchester United side, because the players, they're the same. They've been together for a while, they've developed, they've matured, they're in sync, and the differences in style are only very slight from what they were used to under Jurgen Klopp. And secondly, he wanted to really stress that even though United had a hideously difficult season last time out, they were actually unbeaten against Liverpool, drawing home and away in the league, and then obviously knocking them out in the FA Cup in that 4-3 epic that happened here, with an absolutely feverish atmosphere that he wants to see recreated. Now, Old Trafford really is where the wheels came off for Liverpool's title ambitions and the thoughts of securing more silverware to give Jurgen Klopp that perfect send-off. And actually, in the main, it has been a notoriously difficult ground for them.
Yeah, Liverpool fans won't thank you for reminding them of that this morning. But let's talk about it then, because, of course, Arne Slot is now in charge. And you've spoken to him as well, haven't you, this week? What have you noticed in terms of changes from the Klopp era to the Slot era?
I think Liverpool are definitely more controlled and measured under Slot. They're comfortable in possession and killing games rather than trying to force it. They're a lot more defensively secure and solid, and they're not just constantly in this mode of press, counter-attack. They're learning to be a lot more patient and calm. And very, very importantly, Liverpool's performances against the counter-attack, that has significantly improved. Now, Slot did tell me in that exclusive interview that I did with him that the true test would come against United here at Old Trafford because of their strength on the break. However, it's very noticeable that they're taking less risks with the high press. They're allowing the opposition less turnovers. And then if the press is beaten, that is where you see the energy exerted with recovery runs, especially from the midfielders. And I think that's why Ryan Gravenberch has been preferred as the number 6, because of the dynamism he offers there.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? Thank you ever so much, Melissa. Just a reminder, kick-off at Old Trafford is at a slightly earlier time than usual, at 4 p.m. live on Sky Sports Premier League. Charlotte, look, I'm really intrigued to talk about Erik ten Hag, because he talks about this kind of maturity that he talks about a lot. And he said that Arne Slot has inherited a more mature squad than he has. Do you agree with those comments?
I suppose it depends what he categorises mature, because if you look at the average age of the starting 11 over like the last 2 seasons, it's actually pretty similar.
Right.
So it's not like he's inherited a team of 16-year-olds who've never played in the Premier League before. I think maybe the problem Manchester United have had, especially over the last few years, even before Erik ten Hag, is they seem to have lacked leaders. They seem to have lacked people who, in situations where maybe they're 2-1 up and they need to see a game out, someone who's savvy enough to read the situation, tell the team to calm down, get them through those vital last few minutes. Whereas we know that Liverpool have been very good at that over the past few years. So I don't think maturity can be viewed in many different ways, can't it? In terms of, you look at someone who's younger than someone else can be more mature. So the age dynamic between the two teams isn't that different. But I just think that experience and nous of knowing how to manage games and who do they look to within that team to drag them through those situations, I think Liverpool do have more of those players. But then is that sort of on the manager to have a lead? Manchester City, for example, have a leadership group, don't they? They don't just have a captain to do that. Is it on him to pull people aside and be like, I need you on as my people on the pitch to be able to manage these situations. So he does have to take some responsibility for that himself as well, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know England had the same, didn't they, with Jude Bellingham, who's super young, but part of the leadership group. So that's a really good point. Look, Erik ten Hag was backed in the window, wasn't he? I mean, Melissa touched on it there. They prioritised positions and they got them. Manuel Ugarte coming in on deadline day as well. Not registered, of course, for this game today. A very different window, you'd have to say, in terms of what we've witnessed before going on at Old Trafford. Is that what you saw? This is a new dynamic going on here.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're backing him big time because he's their man. Everyone expected him to leave at the end of last season, and that didn't happen. So if you're going to keep him, given all that uncertainty, then you have to back him, and that's what they've done. Just looking through some of the signings, Joshua Zirkzee, Lenny Oro, very, very talented young defender, unfortunate to be out injured at the moment. Matthijs de Ligt, Nusayr Mazraoui comes from Bayern Munich, and of course Manuel Ugarte. We'll talk about him later on the show. He's a terrific defensive midfielder who should solve a problem in that area. How they would love to have him today against Liverpool. But as far as the backing from the club is concerned, he's had that and some, because you look at the average price of the players that he's brought in, around about £50 million.
How can he lead the team? Ten Hag urged to strip Fernandes of captaincy, it's hampering his game, says Pardew. Alan Pardew has urged Erik ten Hag to strip Bruno Fernandes of the captaincy role at Manchester United, but not for the reasons you might think. Since Fernandes was promoted to skipper, Roy Keane has been vocal in his stance that the Portugal star is unsuitable to lead the team. More recently, he addressed his concerns after a 3-0 Manchester derby defeat at Old Trafford last season, telling the Sky Sports panel post-match that Fernandes is the opposite of what he'd want in a captain because of his moaning and throwing his arms up in the air constantly. Indeed, Fernandes' theatrics have often seen him come under fire from commentators, former players and, at times, even his own fans. On numerous occasions, the midfielder earned himself a booking for his on-pitch behavior, which has, in turn, been detrimental to the team if he's gone on to achieve a yellow card suspension. Pardew, however, has shared a different sentiment to Keane's, and it has nothing to do with the player's notorious in-game antics. Captain duties are hampering Fernandes' game, claims Pardew, speaking to TalkSport via Give Me Sport. The ex-Crystal Palace boss said, "You've got your skipper out there, you've got a technical skipper. When you've got a technician as a skipper, I think it's always dangerous because they're going to have off games. Even Christian Eriksen in his prime, Michel Platini in his prime, they'd have the off day. They were technical players. Defensively, he's Fernandes not been called upon," he continued. How can he lead the team? It's a very difficult one for him. Actually think it would be better for him as a footballer to take it off him. I think it might free him up a bit and let him be a bit more free-minded. He's probably worrying about the back four, worrying about the wingers. You don't really know how to deal with it. Erik ten Hag's job is on the line. According to sources, Erik ten Hag's job is reportedly on the line should things at Manchester United fail to improve in the near future. After finishing in 8th place last season and exiting the Champions League at the group stage, many fans were left disenchanted with the current manager. A surprising FA Cup triumph against rivals Manchester City did garner significant support amongst numerous fans of the club for the Dutchman, and after carrying out an internal review, new owners Ineos decided to keep him after weeks of doubt. After eventually backing ten Hag, United spent heavily in the summer window, bringing in 5 senior squad signings. In pre-season they showed some promising displays of possession-based football. Nonetheless, the narrow 1-0 win versus Fulham and 2 consecutive defeats to Brighton and Hove Albion and Liverpool have once more put serious pressure on the former Ajax coach. As a result, GivenSport report that the FA Cup final win over Manchester City certainly helped paper over the cracks at the club, and the spell after this international break will become key in identifying whether ten Hag truly does have longevity in this role. Sources are suggesting that while it is moments that have kept him alive in the Manchester United hot seat, the consistency, identity and style of play will become a more bold marker of how he is judged going forward. It is stated that United would rather avoid the drama of having to sack yet another manager, but well-informed figures around Old Trafford seem in no doubt that his job will be on the line if things do not improve. Nonetheless, it is stressed that there will be no knee-jerk decision on his future right now despite the insipid defeat to Liverpool last Sunday. There is hope that a kinder fixture list in September, players returning to fitness and new players betting in will help turn the tide at the club.